We're going to go ahead and get started. I just want to say thank you all for being here. I want to provide an update in regards to a situation that occurred yesterday in the 4300 block of Rodeo Drive. It was about 5:30 yesterday afternoon. The San Angelo Police Department responded to an incident where we are now investigating an aggravated assault or injury to an elderly individual. Officers arrived to find an 81-year-old victim that had very severe injuries. She was stabilized and has been flown to an out-of-town hospital for treatment. It's critical but stable at this point. We're working through that as we go. As we explain the rest of this, I want to make it very clear that this is all the information is subject to change. This is early in our investigation, and that this is what we know at the moment, but that is all very fluid. We do have a suspect that we're looking into, and we have a vehicle that we're looking for, okay? So I ask that you be praying for the families, 81-year-old San Angelo resident, one of our own, be praying for her and her family. We are looking for a suspect, and you will get a picture of this suspect with your packet, and we're also going to be releasing it on Facebook. His name is Christopher Knowlton. He's 27 years old. He is 5'10". He has brown eyes, brown hair. He is 170 pounds, and he was last seen yesterday in the area prior to the incident. I would ask that we also be looking for a 2018 Jeep Renegade. It has Texas license plate MNH2244. That's Mary Nora Henry 2244. White in color, and that is currently listed as stolen, and we're looking for that vehicle. We need the community's help on this. We have it out to all of our law enforcement, and everybody's looking in our area. But if you see this vehicle, or you see this suspect, or you have any information, we're asking for your help. Again, be praying for the 81-year-old victim in this case and her family. We'll be releasing a Facebook post with the information as well, and we ask that you share that. And together, I think we can get this suspect in custody and find out more of what's going on. The best way to get a hold of us is using our main phone number. It's going to be 657-4315. If you want to remain anonymous in the course of this, which we get because of certain circumstances in your life, you can remain anonymous by using Crime Stoppers at 658-HELP. That's 4357, 658-HELP. Key in the word HELP, and that's 4357. You can also do it on their app or online if you want to do that. I do say that we have some of the very best investigators who are on the case. I think we're coming to a resolution on this. But any information you may have about this, we ask that you contact us. This is a stock photo that will be added as well on the vehicle. So it's a Jeep Renegade 2018, white in color. Any additional information that we learn that might be pertinent to this will be releasing. But right now, again, it's fluid, changing, and anything could pivot off of that at any moment. So I'm going to separate this into two, and I'm going to have questions on that real quick. You may have questions on this case.
Was the suspect from San Angelo, do you know?
Suspect has area ties.
Okay.
Do you know the extent of the victim's injuries?
They want the extent of I'm getting better at repeating questions so everybody else can hear. So the extent of the injuries are significant.
Do we know where she was airlifted to?
We're going to keep that close, that way we don't have anybody else involved trying to track that down. We're still looking for a suspect in it.
And the vehicle that was stolen, is that something to do with the case as well, or is there a separate incident?
We investigate that as individually, but they could be directly tied together. And then, so as we move forward, we're going to keep looking for the vehicle as also tied to this crime. Okay, we want to transition into another press update. So starting back in the early part of March, we received a Crime Stoppers tip about a neighbor in the area of Mimosa that was damaging tires. So it's basically, it had been going on for some time, and some people were worried about that. They used Crime Stoppers to remain anonymous. And I want to highlight this because it's, number one, an unusual crime, and number two, it is a great highlight of how good our community is. So we started working with our neighborhood officers. We started doing surveillance in the area, trying to find, because with anonymous tip, I want to make it clear to the public, is we can't do anything more than just try to look into something. We have no arrest authorities, no detention abilities, and so we start looking into it with what resources we have. Where I think this highlights how great our community is, especially this neighborhood in that area of Mimosa. We found that the neighbors started talking and communicating with each other. It's a great, again, it highlights San Angelo, and they started working together and were able to piece how many victims were actually in the neighborhood. That got everybody together, and in the course of this last week, on Thursday I believe it was, we received a great deal of actual identified reports, which is our first identified real reports that were tied to this. And with the use of retired law enforcement that live in the neighborhood, and with the neighbors that were just outstanding, that worked together and brave in dealing with this situation, and a game warden drone, we were able to obtain an arrest warrant for our suspect. And I think that it's key to understand that the type of tire damage that was going on was not just somebody like poking a tire, right? It was utilizing what's called a caltrop. Sometimes in law enforcement we have what's called a spike strip, right? That's more than one caltrop. It's a tire deflation device, and so they were being laid out into the street. And during the course of that, we found that they were same and similar, and we started trying to figure out the connection to it. And so we're asking that if anybody was involved in, and maybe you were in the area of Lakeview Heroes Drive, Mimosa, that wraps right around just to the north of that, anywhere around Lincoln Middle School, and you had some sort of device that you found on your tire in the course of the last probably 4 months, to go ahead and report that to the San Angelo Police Department. I would ask that you do that with the utilization of our online. It's the easiest way to get there. It's fastest, easier for you. That way you can provide any pictures you might have, and we don't have to wait for the police officers to arrive for you on that. You can do that at sanangelopolice.org. Go down to the middle of the page. You'll find how to file an online police report. If you can't do that and you have issues, we understand people do have problems with that. You can contact again our number as previously listed as area code 325-657-4315. And you can report that, and an officer will come out eventually. We want you to understand that this took a lot of time and energy and a lot of great neighbors working together. And John, I'm going to ask that you give me that press release real quick. And on that, what we're going to highlight is the ability to say that we have some great detectives, and in the course of that investigation, not only did they have the information to lead to the arrest, but they also executed a search warrant at the suspect's house and were able to obtain additional information that tied to this crime. At this time, we have arrested Donald Hall. He's 72 years old, male, for the crime of criminal mischief and the utilization of prohibited weapons. He was arrested yesterday in the Tom Reed County Jail. So this is wonderful community. This is a wonderful group of citizens coming together. This is utilization of extra law enforcement, meaning the Parks and Wildlife. We want to say thank you to them for utilization of the drone, and also to our neighborhood officers and our great investigators that have led to the arrest of this suspect. And hopefully it can be the end to people who can and not have to have stress about having your tires damaged, because everybody knows not only is it a stressor of being late to work, late to your kids getting to school, but it's expensive, right? So hopefully this will be the end of that, and we will let the rules of justice roll. All information is subject to change. So information is still early, but that's where we landed at today. And I'll answer questions on that now. do wanna highlight that we have some pictures of some caltrops. This one in particular is probably the best one. Basically, you take a nail and put it through a bottle cap, and it provides a way to deflate a tire. There's lots of other ways to do that, but that's the main way that they do that. It is something that for months, people in this neighborhood have struggled with, so we're glad to see that come to conclusion. And any other questions on that? Yes, sir.
Do we have a number of how many vehicles had their tires punctured?
So the question is, do we have a number of how many victims we have at this point? No, we don't, because we're still actively. It's another reason why we wanted to highlight today is if you thought maybe some kid was just playing around and saw this type of device, which will also be on the release, I believe, that we can have that say, hey, I remember pulling out my tire and I did drive through that neighborhood. So we're trying to collect all this together, and then we can kind of culminate our numbers. A good question. All right. I want to say thank you all guys for coming out. I appreciate y'all. If there's any additional information that needs to be released for the betterment of the cases, we'll be doing so, and hope y'all have